commission meetings. They have youth council commission meetings. And the culmination of that is tradition we started a few years back, and I believe we may be one of, if not the only city that I've ever known that does this, is culminating with a joint meeting here today. So the youth council will actually be joining us here for the first part of this meeting. My colleague, Chair Balmer, will be chairing the meeting, and she will be with us and taking us all the way through the consent agenda. And our hope in doing this as a city, and this commission has supported this youth council tirelessly, and our hope in doing so for me is I want this generation to know that sitting up here and being a leader in your community is an attainable thing. This isn't some faraway thing that has to be reserved for anyone special per se. It's just people that want to make a difference, and that's what leadership is. And so you all certainly have already exhibited that, and my hope is that this will inspire you in whatever community you land in, and we hope it's New Smyrna selfishly, but wherever it is that you land in and choose to build your life and careers, that you will reflect back on this and stay involved in your community in some shape, form, or fashion. So again, I look to you all not as future leaders, but as current leaders and colleagues, and so thank you for all you do. I would point out that Chair Balmer will be taking us all the way through the end of the consent agenda, which includes public participation. I know you all will give her the respect that you give me in that. You'll respect the time. Don't put her in a tight spot in her first role in this of trying to enforce the time on you all. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Chair Balmer to take over the meeting from here and call us to order.
Thank you, and hello. The regular meeting of the City Commission for Tuesday, May 11th, 2021 may come to order. Please silence all cell phones. City Clerk, please call the roll.
For the Youth Council Task Force, Chair Shelby Balmer.
Present.
Vice Chair Peyton Zitka.
Present.
Member Al Fahey.
Present.
Member Olivia Gray Finelli.
Present.
Member Morgan Heibel is excused absent. City Commission, Mayor Owen.
Present.
Vice Mayor Sachs.
Here.
Commissioner Hartman.
Here.
Commissioner Colodi.
Here.
Commissioner McGurk.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I will now move on to the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. Police Department Chaplain Sheila Turner will give the invocation. Please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
We thank you, Father, for allowing us to come together one more time in this beautiful city of New Smyrna Beach. We thank you that you have selected some wonderful people on this commissioners' chambers, and we thank you that they will be able to approve things that needs to be approved in this city. We thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will now move on to the approval of the agenda. City Manager, are there any changes to the published agenda?
Yes, ma'am. We have two changes. The first one is item 4B. That is to be pulled out, requested by the applicant or by the Mr. Davenport to May the 25th, 2021. And the other changes, we're shifting 4A and 4C. So 4C will go first, and then 4A will go second. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to invite James Howard to the podium from James Moore CPAs to the podium to outline a presentation.
Good evening, everybody. Well, I'm here to present your audit tonight. Let me just get the little clicker warmed up here. All right, well, James Halloran with James Moore and Company, very happy to present the audit of the city of New Smyrna Beach tonight. This is for the year ended September 30th, 2020, so just a couple months ago. And As always, the financial statements, this rather big book, if you guys can see this rather big book, is what is produced, and it's called an Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. And that goes above and beyond the requirements that the state of Florida requires. Your city prepares additional information that's not required, and they do that so they can achieve a certificate in financial reporting excellence from the Government Finance Officers Association. So just wanted to let you know that to start with. So the financials are the responsibility of management. Our responsibility is to audit those financial statements. You guys are subject to U.S. auditing rules, government auditing standards. This year you're also subject to federal and state single audit standards because of the level of grant funds you received. And there's also Florida Auditor General rules as well that are included in here. So a summary of those independent audit reports. The audit on the financial statements is an unmodified opinion. That's the best opinion we can give as independent certified public accountants. It also includes the Utilities Commission. The Utilities Commission, if you think about it in a for-profit sense, is a subsidiary of the city of New Smyrna Beach. We do not audit that entity, so it's referred to their report that says there's other auditors who audit that portion. You also have the federal and state single audit report, and I'm happy to report there were no findings in regards to those grants. Under government auditing standards, we're required to look at internal control over financial reporting and report back any findings we have related to that. So with that, we had one significant deficiency this year that was reported. That was last year a material weakness. Material weakness would be the most severe comment we could provide as an independent certified public accountant. So it decreased the level of severity this year, and that was dealing with reconciliation of your account balances. There was one prior year material weakness that was corrected, and that dealt with the preparation of the schedule of federal awards. There's also the letter I referred to before by the Auditor General. The Auditor General requires us to look at a number of different areas of the city, whether it's financial condition, and also provide recommendations and suggestions for improvement. So with that, we had 3 recommendations for improvement for the year. There were 3 last year. 1 of those was corrected, and 2 were repeated in the current year. We also are required by the Auditor General to look at your investment policy and Florida statutes and determine if they're in compliance with Florida statutes, and we had no items required to report it there as well. And there's also in the back of the financial statement an impact fee affidavit signed by your finance director indicating that the impact fee ordinances have been followed, both from a collection of those impact fees from citizens as well as how they're spent. So I mentioned you guys were subject to federal and state single audit, which is always nice. You bring in a little bit of those federal funds that help projects inside your city progress a little faster. So with this year, most of my local governments, cities, counties, received monies from the Coronavirus Relief Fund. With that, you got close to $1 million. That was an allocation from Volusia County. The majority of that money was spent on public safety salaries, is where you were allowed to use those funds. On the state side, you received 2 large grants, one about $3.5 million from Florida Communities Trust, and that was used to help with the Turnbull Bay purchase. So you originally had purchased that with all debt, and this enabled you to have some extra money that you can now use going forward for some more environmentally sensitive land. You also had some aviation grant programs, which were for your apron improvements as well as some hangar activity out at the airport. So a little history as I talked about the comments. Sometimes it's kind of hard to see how all those flow out over a couple of years. So this is going back 4 years, and you can see in 2017 and 18, those were already, other auditors were involved in your audit at that point in time. James Moore has been doing the past 2 years. So you can see the material weakness, as I mentioned, was the most severe, so that's where you want to see the comments not repeating in the future, and you were successful in doing that. In 2018 and 19, you had 2 comments, and now you just have 1 at a significant deficiency, and just 3 suggestions and recommendations. So a little bit on numbers. I can't be a CPA and not talk anything about numbers. But if you look at your general fund, that's your main operating fund as a city. And that operating fund has about $10 million, 9.4 back in 2008, now about $10 million. And the important number there, you have monies that are non-spendable and are restricted, which you can't really spend those funds except for those specific purposes. But you do have unassigned. That's really what's left over at the end of the year. And that's due to a couple reasons. So, well, why is there that big increase from 6.7 million up to 9.3? Well, part of that was the COVID relief fund monies you got from the federal government, as well as just overall expense reductions for the year. That you didn't need to incur the expenses you typically would have, and some of those projects got delayed as well, so you didn't expend the money you expected from a budget side. Your general fund, we always like to look at where it's at. If you look at your general fund in relation to expenditures for the year, in relation to what's left over in that unassigned and assigned fund balance, and what is that amount? Think about your rainy day fund. Do you like 1 month in savings, 2 months in savings, 6 months in savings? So currently the city sits at about 30%, roughly almost 3 months. 33% would be 3 months, so almost 3 months is set aside. The Government Finance Officers Association recommends 2 months, which is 16.7%. Your internal policy, which we'll go through in a little bit, is at 25%. So your other governmental funds, that's your special revenue funds, any of your capital project funds, all those activities, you'll see a good increase there as well, from 27 million up to 33 million. The largest increase there is that grant we talked about before from the Florida Communities Trust, about $3.5 million is where that restricted monies increased from almost 19 to 22 million. Then you also see an increase in the assigned fund balance. That's mainly in your capital projects funds is where we saw that increase. As I mentioned before, the fund balance policies, you have fund balance policies on a number of funds, and they're all in compliance this year except for one, and that's one of the recommendations we had, was to look at the sanitation fund and say, does that make sense for your sanitation fund to have a 20% fund balance? Your sanitation fund, you contract out that work to a vendor, so you don't own your own garbage trucks. So it may be time to rethink that and say, does it make sense to have a 20% fund balance when we don't have capital needs inside that fund that we need to save for in the future? Everyone always asks about the pensions, and you guys have 3 different pension opportunities, for employees of the city. You have a separate police pension plan, separate fire defined benefit pension plan, as well as employees can participate in the Florida retirement system. So those liabilities of those plans out into the future that it's anticipated to be paid is about $10.5 million. Will have to be paid out over time. And I have this chart there that kind of shows you some of that history of where those different plans are moving, and then also what the percent funding is. The good thing about the state of Florida is the state of Florida requires any pension plan to put the required contribution that the actuary determines. You don't have that choice. In other states, you probably hear on the news, some other states are having issues with their pension plans. This is one of the issues, is because the government could decide, we don't really care what the actuary says and their funding method, we're going to put in whatever we want. In the state of Florida, you must put in what the actuary says, or you won't be in compliance with state statute. So some other notes in the financial statements. Long-term debt for your governmental side, you had about $34.5 million of outstanding debt at the end of the year. There was no new debt issued for the year. So you were just paying down your current activity. Your business type activities is limited right now to you just have your, is your marinas in there and sanitation, so there's no debt there as well. There's just a small amount related to accrued vacation and sick time. OPEB liability is a liability out in the future for health insurance, and that just had a slight increase of $289,000. And then Natalia, who we thank for doing the audit and helping us with the audit, she's your finance director. These are some of the new stuff she'll get to deal with the next couple of years. So always in accounting, and like every industry or every part of the city, there's always regulation changes. And with those regulation changes, there's activities and things that finance department will have to do to make sure the financial statements are presented appropriately. So we can't go through any discussion right now without talking about COVID, so we, of course, have a new note disclosure related to COVID, just discussing that there is this uncertainty. This pandemic is occurring, and hopefully it's going to be done here pretty soon. But there's uncertainty in the future of how that relates to the financial operations of the city of New Smyrna Beach. We did have a restatement in that position, and that was due to the golf course. The golf course used to be a separate enterprise fund, and that got merged into your general fund, similar to your sports stadiums and those type of things, those recreational activities. It's now accounting for in the general fund as well inside that recreation department. That's all I have, but I know I met with most of you guys individually, but any questions from the new members? Ms. Balmer or anybody else?
I don't think we have any questions. Commissioner Clody? Any questions?
No, I did have the opportunity to review this, discuss it with you. And my understanding on the various items we should look at is perhaps establishing greater standards for how we invest our money in the Florida funds.
Yeah, there was
correct?
one comment we had on investment policy, which is clarifying that investment policy. It currently allows you to invest in local government investment pools, but doesn't give any parameters or the type of investments, whether it's a bond index fund as opposed to an equity index fund. So we think we probably need some clarification there to make sure everyone understands exactly on that investment committee as well what the parameters are.
And who would work up those standards?
Your finance director and city manager would work on those.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from the commission? Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
So at this time, thank you. The New Smyrna Beach Youth Council will begin conducting their presentation. Hello. So we've been working for the past couple years on what we've called the Sharks of NSB project, because we are very original and creative with names. And we have been invited by the commission to come and speak to you all and them to tell them about what we've been working on and how we've done with this project and what we are working on in the future. So this is who we are.
So before we get started on the actual presentation, we thought that it would be good to give some background information about us. So we're the New Smyrna Beach Youth Council Task Force, as you guys heard, a group of 5 members appointed from New Smyrna Beach High School. So members Morgan, Shelby, Peyton, and Olivia are all seniors, and they're graduating this year, and they have served on the council for 3 years. And me, El Fahey, I'm currently a junior who proceeded to Mina Tisha, which is a graduated member.
And we are working on the Sharks of NSB. So we started on this council in 2018, and we presented for the first time on May 14th in 2019 to this commission. And since then, we've worked persistently on the Sharks to make our vision a reality. And we hope that we've laid the groundwork for this project to continue and for a legacy to have in this entire community as we've laid the infrastructure out for this project. So the Sharks are a collection of shark statues. If you look over there, you can see one of them. They've been painted by local artists, and they will be displayed around the community throughout New Smyrna Beach. We hope that this will be a cultural landmark in our community and will be something that people come from all around to see and take photos with, as other cities have had similar projects like this. And we chose the Shark specifically because we want to create a positive connotation to our name as the Shark Bite capital of the world and embrace our special, unique characteristics. So we have 5 artists that we've chosen for these sharks currently, and we have invited them to this meeting. Some of them are here. And we have 5 members, so each of our members will go through and tell you a little bit about the artists, because part of this project is spotlighting local efforts for public displays of art and really bringing out the artist community that we have and we cherish. So, on to our first artist.
Our first artist we chose was Kathy Burrs, and she's been a resident of New Smyrna Beach for 32 years. And her work can be found locally at the New Smyrna Beach City Hall, the New Smyrna Beach Historical Museum, Advent Health, and the White House, which has now been passed on to the Bush Library in Texas. And she has also taught art at the Daytona Beach Community College, Artists Workshop Incorporated, and Atlantic Center for the Arts, along with heading an art outreach program at the New Smyrna Beach Middle School art class for 14 years.
Next, we have Margot Wenzel. She said that she is a resident of New Smyrna Beach and a 3rd-generation painter. She said that she started painting by taking classes at the Artist Workshop with Bo Wild, and she really understood her aspect by putting all of these different instruments up on the sharks, as you can see in the presentation. We really think that showcasing all of the musicians in New Smyrna is a good idea, especially since most people know that New Smyrna Beach is more of a beach town. but we wanted to more put the musicians on display for this one.
So our next artist is Brandel Preston. She's a CUDA alumni and a New Smyrna Beach native, and she teaches pre-K through 5th grade at Indian River Elementary School. So we knew right away when we read her application and we saw her work that she would bring something really special to this project, especially as a youth council. We, of course, want to make sure that youth of all ages is involved. She specializes in marine life, nature, and swordfish bill art, and that's something that we obviously wanted to highlight in this project is what is special about New Smyrna Beach, our music, our artists, and of course, our wildlife. She hopes to incorporate some of her higher performing visual art students in painting the shark, which I think will add a really special touch as it truly is a community piece. And she wants to inspire, inform, engage, and celebrate art because it has a powerful impact and can influence an audience in more than one way. And so we were very happy with our pick.
Our next local artist is Shy Morris. She is inspired by the beautiful, natural, humble, strong, intelligent, emotional, and superhuman powers that are carried by women in our communities. Her work in her community advocates for youth to have positive pathways using the arts to stabilize education to help eliminate poverty in marginalized communities. During her time in quarantine, she used her talents to create beautiful, large-scale murals so people in her small town could drive by to still participate in public art. Her Her murals and paintings include positive images of women, beautiful flowers, ocean life, historic preservation, and quotes to strengthen mental health and positive outlooks on life.
And next we have Eliza Midget. She lives here in New Smyrna Beach and is an elementary art teacher for Volusia County Public Schools. You can find her work at the Hub on Canal Street in the front, right gallery. She says that color is the most important part of her work because it sets a vibrant and happy mood for her unconventional beachscapes, which she really understood the part that we were going for. She says that New Smyrna Beach is a unique, colorful, and happy town, and I express that by exaggerating my colors and abstracting my landscapes into bright, surreal wonderlands. She then says that it would be an honor to have the privilege of painting a shark for this town I call home. And you can actually see her shark right here on display, right over by the window.
Yes, she was grateful in letting us actually display a shark for you all, even though it might not necessarily be finished yet, because it's a true beautiful shark. Now we'll move on to where we'll be placing these sharks. So we have this project laid out in phases, and these 5 sharks will be going into phase 1.
We had many options in our town to choose for locations, but the first phase were chosen in compliance to local laws for foot traffic and things like that. So our first 5 locations are the City Hall Annex, the Babe James Community Center, the Brandon Center, the City Marina, and the Live Oak Cultural Center. And during our second phase, it'll be Riverside Drive at the end of Canal Street under the flagpoles, the North Causeway West Boat Ramp, Christmas Park, Flagler Avenue Boardwalk, and 27th Avenue Park.
Yes, so we hope that later on, as we do have a list of locations from the city, that we are able to place these sharks, that they will be able to be maintained and protected by the city. We'll have many other phases after this, and we do have those locations picked, but we just haven't assigned them yet. And now we're going to tell you a little bit about our future as a task force.
So what we hope to accomplish with this project is for the first 5 sharks to be auctioned off at the local art festival Images, to be on display continuously for the city, and local businesses can get involved and community members, to return the funds back to the youth council through the New Smyrna Beach High School, to where those funds can then be used to fund future projects for the youth council, along with funding more sharks. Because in the long run, we hope to start a legacy where we can have sharks all over the town for everyone to go and see. Thank you to a very generous donation from Ed and Sue Kenny. The next 5 sharks are already fully funded, and the artist that creates the sharks is about to begin producing them. And we hope that the sharks will create a series of cultural landmarks here for years to come. And the next new youth council will take over and continue with the Sharks for as long as funding allows, and will return back to thinking of a new project or task that they would like to carry out, and we would like to wish them the best of luck.
And so, in conclusion, I just want to thank everybody that's helped make this project reality. First and foremost, thank you to our sponsor, Paul Woodard, and the city clerk, Kelly McQuillan, who have worked so closely with us for the past 3 years and truly could not have done this project without them. They have helped so much in representing us and advocating for us and helping us navigate local politics and the city. So we are extremely grateful for their support and guidance. We'd like to thank the mayor. He's always had a kind word and a new idea for us, and he's always willing to come to our meetings and take up the first few minutes and letting us know how proud he is of us and how happy he is with how this project has turned out. So without his support, I don't think we could have gotten this far. And thank you to Tamina Tisha, who was a previous member. Her commitment helped this project get started. And thank you to all our artists who are here and all that couldn't make it, as well as all of the artists that applied. Without your support and your willingness to donate your time and energy to this project, we would not be able to actually have these sharks in our community. So that's very important to us. And of course, thank you to Ed and Sue Kenny for caring enough to help fund our next project and for allowing us to keep going with this for as long as we have and we can. And we most importantly want to thank the city of New Smyrna Beach and its residents who have shown up for this project time and time again, who've come to our meetings and read about us in the newspaper and worked very, very hard to show their community support to us. We couldn't have done it without you, and we are all very proud to call New Smyrna Beach home.
Thank you so much.
And that concludes our portion of the presentation. Are there any questions from or comments from the commission?
Yes. Through my many years of looking at high school projects, including some that I was on many decades ago, this is truly one that benefits the community. And the fact that you've worked on it for such a long period of time and have good success, I really congratulate all of you. So, very good.
Thank you.
Ladies, if I may add, I had the pleasure of being at one of your early meetings trying to pick out a sculpture, and we had a couple of kind of blah ones on the table, a pelican, a manatee, the things that, you know, were nice creatures, but then you came up with a shark, which really, aside from putting the arts together, sports, our environment, and then sticking to a tremendous goal. I mean, you had like a government bureaucracy in front of you, but you put it all together, and we're very proud and honored to see the sharks, and I can't wait to show my wife. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I just want to say great job, and these 5 sharks are really cool, fantastic, and don't underestimate what you all accomplished. You know, the leadership really came from you. This wouldn't have happened if you guys didn't have the interest and the passion. So we just did what we can do, but the effort really came from you all. So again, congratulations, great job.
Thank you.
So I want to follow up on that. I kind of remember the first meeting that we had, and we were going up, like Commissioner Sachs says, and then all of the enthusiasm and passion that was around the shark. You know, you guys just lit up when you came up with that idea, and we all kind of bought into that. It was just amazing that you did that and carried on. But who actually designed the shark or made the shark?
So there is a taxidermist who actually created the sharks for us, and Ms. McClellan will tell you his name and tell you where he's from. But he has been the person who made the sharks.
The gentleman's name is Rick Hardy, and his business is in DeLand.
Thank you.
So, if I may, a couple of things. One, I want to acknowledge, I too remember that meeting, and Morgan, I hate she couldn't be here tonight. She had to miss out of an abundance of caution, but she was especially passionate about the shark. I'll never forget, she kind of chimed in, like, I really want the shark. So I know you all were, but want to give her a little credit on that. And I agree with what my colleagues have said. And what is great about this, and I've said this to you all at your meetings, is, you know, for years, I watched as youth councils would come up with something, some initiative, some idea, something. They would come present to the commission before the days of the joint meeting, and they would come and present, and you'd kind of nod, and depending on what the idea was, it was like, all right, how do you execute it? It was more like they'd kind of pushed a problem over and said, hey, here's something we kind of wish that y'all would fix. Whereas this youth council has brought us something and said, hey, here's what we've done. We've sourced it. We've, you know, garnered enough community support for it. And now, if this is executed like I believe it can be in our community, it's created what I call an endowment, where future youth councils, as they come up with an idea where they say, we want to put, you know, cigarette butt collectors on the beach, I think was an idea of a prior council, there's going to be, you know, a small funding pot that can be self-sustaining. So that's what's really cool about what's happened here, is you've really given legs to future youth councils, and I would say that you've set the bar really, really high. So again, my commendations to all of you, just a fantastic job. And I will tell you, if you all attend their meetings, it feels a lot like this. They run a professional meeting, and that's why we're very comfortable having them here with us today. So again, thank you all, great job, and we'll continue to support this. And my commitment to you all is that I will do everything in my power as you all graduate and go on to do whatever you would like to do. We're going to try to keep this going, so as you go through New Smyrna, you'll always be able to see this. So, turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for your continued support with this project. We couldn't have done it without you, and it means the world to us to be able to be up here presenting it to you. If that's everything, I would like to open up public participation. So if there are any members who wish to speak, please approach the podium. You will have 3 minutes at the podium, and I would like to remind you that under Section 8, there will be a second ability to speak about the second reading and public hearings. So.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Chaffee. I live at 321 Roslyn Avenue, Smyrna. I'm here to address the county's decision to create parking spaces throughout Hill Street in New Smyrna Beach. We are asking that you have a conversation regarding this with the county, as these potential parking areas have some extremely sensitive dunes that could be destroyed in the process. Specifically, there is an address of a homeowner at 2509 Hill Street that his entire side yard is a large, beautiful, heavily vegetated dune. We all know how important these dunes are ecologically and economically, as they buffer water intrusion and are important for local wildlife. Aesthetically, his property will be greatly impaired, as well as the whole Hill Street neighborhood with the added parking spaces. This will bring too many people to an ecologically sensitive area for parking in the middle of a residential neighborhood. It seems that it would make more sense economically to create parking in a different area of Beachside on a less ecologically sensitive area that offers more spaces than what Hill Street could offer. Thank you.
Real quick on that issue, just so you know, this was brought up at a meeting previously. This commission discussed it at length and asked that I set up some time with county representatives. And at a luncheon Monday, I talked to our district rep and our county chair and the county manager, and we are going to have that meeting with our city manager. We're working on getting that scheduled. So we are addressing that. And if you want to hear the commission's comments, at the very end of the last meeting, I think it was, we talked about it at length.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
And I followed up by an email today to the county manager and the deputy.
Thank you.
Joe Dluback, 3587 Casalta Circle. I'd just like to recommend that if, in fact, the artists for your project are here, that they be recognized individually so we can see them. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. We can do that right after public participation. That's a great idea. Thank you.
So you just addressed what I came here to talk about, but since I drove here from Ormond Beach, I'm still going to deliver my speech because there might be some food for thought in it, okay? So my name is Suzanne Shiver, Ormond Beach, Florida. I'm with Dream Green Volusia. I'm here this evening asking the commission to please have a conversation concerning an environmental and economic issue. As you're aware, there are beach paths located on Hill Street in a residential area. The path next to 2509 Hill Street is pursued by the county for a parking lot. Before you say this is the county and not New Smyrna Beach, as you just addressed, Mr. Mayor, please consider the following. There is a very large dune located in the walk path completely covered in vegetation. This dune is a natural protector to both the street and the home located there. What's just as surprising is the cost of removing the dune, paving a parking lot for approximately 10 cars, putting up a concrete wall, and building an ADA-compliant boardwalk from the parking lot to the beach sand. The paved parking lot itself is projected at $600,000 to $700,000. If paved and built out to completion to the project I just said, it would be $1 million to $1.5 million. What about stormwater capture? Where's the discussion for that? Has anyone considered the long-term goal here? Do you really think the county will stop at paving one parking lot on this residential street? There are numerous walk paths on Hill Street, all similar in size. If the pursuit of paving just 4 at a similar cost, the city of New Smyrna would receive around 40 parking spaces for a cost of $4 million to $6 million spent by the county. This is not a far-fetched notion of this situation. There is no denying the city of New Smyrna Beach needs parking for beachgoers. Why not utilize the funds these projects would cost towards a better parking solution elsewhere with less environmental damage, more spaces achieved, and less disruptive to the New Smyrna Beach residents? You are on the receiving end of these choices and decisions. Please don't say this is the county, because we're not involved. You just addressed that. Thank you. Please just have a conversation as people, elected officials, and not politicians in this situation. While we have our own projects across the county, we're often asked for assistance with environmental issues. There are only so many hours in a day. However, this issue, because of the environmental impact, the long-term implications to the neighborhood, and the cost to the taxpayers, is why I'm here tonight. So we're asking for a simple conversation. Thank you for your time. You're always cordial. Thank you.
Thank you.
Howdy. My name's Dennis Texter. I live at 315 Roslyn Avenue. I've lived there for 28 years. I've been a taxpayer for 28 years. I've been in Volusia County my entire life. I'm here about this Section 8, and I don't know. I'm a business owner. I'm a building contractor, state certified building contractor. And number one, we all, as county taxpayers, are paying for a facility out off of 92 for homeless people. I'm not saying that I don't want any homeless people in our town or anything like that, but I am concerned about the property that you're choosing to put these temporary housing that you're going to define what they are, if that's going to be wheels or screwed together so you can take it apart, whatever that happens to be. But that property is industrial property. And if we start changing this zoning, that means that I come in and say, hey, I got enough money to buy this piece of industrial property and I want to build a subdivision. So it's going to start a big deal eventually, especially with all this affordable housing push and everything else that we have going on. So that's number one. But number two, that is a garbage area for redistribution of garbage, putting main trucks and everything else. And then our man from James Moore, ironically tonight, says the city needs to go ahead and invest in their own garbage trucks, which I think they should. And that facility is going to be needed again. But look at your 20% that you had in there. He basically just said, go back and listen to it, that we might want to think about investing into our own garbage trucks. So we're going to need that facility also when we have another storm, because that's where we pile all the storm debris, and then we shred it and put it in trucks and haul it out to the county landfill. So if we're going to put temporary housing there, where are we going to put all these other things? I think you're going to make a big mistake putting homeless temporary housing or any kind of temporary housing in an industrial area. And then I will wait for the comments after Section 8. I'll hang out and comment on that also. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening. Roy Mack from Lorien Street, New Smyrna. I agree with Dennis about what you're trying to do. We need to do something to help the homeless. But I believe putting it there is going to cause more problems. It's right across the street from the police station. It's also taken away from the fire department training facility. It's also taken away from when we do have a hurricane. So we need to reconsider this. Those other options, we just gotta come up with them. One of the suggested places I suggest is the land that's just to the west of the Walmart. Because you got Walmart there, you got bus station there, you got everything there for them to get to work, a place to stay, a place to get something to eat, and it's simple, right there by the interstate. Let's consider something like that instead of putting them right here in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's any others, okay, I'm going to close public participation, and as that gentleman suggested, I would like to go about recognizing any artists that are here. So if I call your name and you're here, please stand up. We'll give you a little bit of a round of applause, and then you can sit back down and I'll call somebody else. So Kathy Burse. Randall Preston. Eliza Midget. Margot Wenzel. Shy Morris. Oh, yes, and the Kennys, if you guys would like to stand up, just give you a bit of a round of applause. Thank you again. Okay, if there is nothing else, we'll move on to the consent agenda. There are 17 items under the consent agenda. Does any member of the City Commission wish to remove any item on the consent agenda for discussion? So, Commissioner Colodi.
For the first time, none.
Vice Mayor Sachs.
I have none, thank you.
Olivia.
None.
Elle.
None.
Commissioner McGurk.
None, thank you.
Commissioner Hartman.
Kay, just for a comment.
Peyton.
None.
Mayor. And then I have none. So if there's a motion to approve the consent items,
So moved.
excluding item K.
So moved.
Second,
City Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Owen? Yes. Vice Mayor Sachs?
yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Clody?
Yes.
Chair Ballmer?
Yes.
Vice Chair Zika?
Yes.
Member Fahey?
Yes.
Member Gray Finelli?
Yes.
Thank you.
Consent agenda items A through Q, excluding K, are adopted. If I go back to K.
Okay, I really don't have issues with the acceptance of the easement, but it is tied to the streetscape. And I know there was a lot of conversation at the last meeting about the sidewalk, whether we were gonna straighten it out or still go around the telephone pole. It's still showing that. So I just wanna make sure that staff looks at that issue before we actually get into the design and construction of that, because that street light actually doesn't even face the street, it faces northbound. So we probably need to address some issues with that. So
Okay,
with that, I'll make a motion.
we will.
With that, I'll make a motion to accept 6K.
Second.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sachs?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Clody?
Yes.
Chair Ballmer?
Yes.
Vice Chair Zika?
Yes.
Member Fahey?
Yes.
Member Gray Finelli?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. If that is done, I would like to take this opportunity to call a recess. This will conclude the end portion of the Youth Council Task Force meeting. I'd like to thank the city, the commission, and my mom
So we're going to take a brief recess for the rest of the meeting. We'll be back in about 5 to 7 minutes. Okay. Thank you all. What a cool thing. That's now the second time we've done that, and I hope it's a tradition that continues long after this commission. I think it's a really cool thing. Next item up is a request for code enforcement lien amnesty. We're going to first hear from our code enforcement supervisor. She's going to give her report. And then if the commission wishes, we do have the applicant that is here with us and would like to speak. And then we'll consider this item. Barbara.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. So this property is located at 612 North Dust Street. Pedro Gentile, 612 North Dust Street, Roman Rules, property owner of 612 North Dust, New Smyrna Beach, submitted a request to discuss a lien amnesty with you all tonight. On August 4th, 2020, code enforcement received a call from one of the tenants living at the property requesting an inspection of the property due to the conditions of the structure that they were living in. Code enforcement conducted an inspection on August 5th, 2020. The property at the time showed that the property was not being maintained in good repair. A notice violation and a notice of hearing was mailed, certified mail to the property owner of record on the tax roll, and the property was also posted. The property owner was given until August 21st, 2020 to bring the property into full compliance. The property at 612 North Dust Street was first presented at the special magistrate hearing on August 26, 2020. The property owner and entity was found in noncompliance of City Code Sections 26.914.2, exterior surfaces, Section 3, protection of exterior surfaces, and the International Property Maintenance Code Section 305.1, interior structures to be maintained, and was given until September 11th, 2020 to bring the property into compliance. In the event the property was not brought into compliance, a fine of $100 per day would be imposed at the next hearing and constitute a lien against the property. The next hearing was the special magistrate on September 23rd, 2020 found the property had remained in violation and did not comply with the board order from August hearing, and a fine of $100 per day was imposed commencing on September 11th. The property owner made no contact with code enforcement regarding the maintenance work that needed to be completed to bring the property into compliance until January 21st, 2021, and at that time they had decided to sell the property. A compliance inspection was conducted by the request of the property owner, and there were still a few items that had been listed on the board order that needed to be addressed. A follow-up inspection was conducted on January 29th. The property at that time was brought into compliance with the board order. The fine at that time on January 29th, 2021 totaled $14,000 for a total of 140 days of noncompliance. Previous to that violation, the property was also found in noncompliance of Section 74-146 local business tax by the special magistrate on August 26, 2020 for failure to comply with the board order from the first hearing on January 22nd, and a fine of $250 was imposed as allowed by Florida State Statute 205.053. A lien was filed on the property for this amount. On February 4th, 2021, the fine of $250 was paid by the property owner, and the satisfaction of lien was filed for that lien of the $250. The current property owner purchased this property in February of 2020 for $165,000. The property is currently listed for sale on Realtor.com, and as of yesterday when I looked it up, it was listed for $198,000. On the property appraiser website, the property value is listed at $136,389. So with the property being offered for sale, the amount that they could possibly make on the sale, staff does not recommend reducing the fine of $14,000.
Okay. We'll hear next from the applicant, but do we have any questions from staff before we do that? Hearing none, we'll hear from the applicant. You can come just right here.
Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Juan Pablo. I'm not the owner. I'm the previous owner from this property.
I'm sorry, you're the previous owner?
Previous owner.
Okay.
Yes. I represented the owner at this moment because the owner lives in Argentina, is my friend, my best friend.
Okay.
Nice to meet you. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be here. First, I want to explain, I don't know if she explained where is the property. The property is in historic district, historic area. It's in 612 Das Street. I buy this property in around 3 years ago. The property have a lot of code complaint, and I fix everything. I put the plans, the drawings, and everything. I pay around $4,000 in utilities because the property is not under code when I buy it. It was my first property when I buy that. If I explain anything wrong, you can ask me. She translate me. I try to do the best. My first language is Spanish. I rent the property for the tenants. You know, this area is really complicated. It's low-income area, and I try to do the best in the properties to be fine, the property to be perfect. But the tenant maybe in another moment don't pay and do any damage. I do the eviction for the first tenant, and the second tenant was great after they don't pay. When they don't pay, we start the eviction process, and they don't maintain the property, but in the lease, say they need to maintain the grass and everything. The property, I don't know if the code enforcement have the pictures, but the property have the problem maybe with one door and fix one hole in the wall, and the fixes was $600. And I fix it. The problem after fix it, when I have chance to do that, because when you start the eviction process, the tenant don't give me access to the property, and I'm sure every people know when you start the evictions, it's complicated to take the access to the property. When I have the property empty, I fix everything. My only mistake was no go to the general magistrate to say everything is worked, everything is finished. Plus, we have the pandemic here. I think maybe this was the only city to meetings, but I don't want to be in any meeting with the pandemic. Plus, it's not my property, and I call to the owner and say, okay, I want to go to do that. But all the planes and the airport was closed. The people cannot come here to go to the general magistrate. Only my mistake was no be there in the general magistrate and say, hey, look, we fixed everything. When I have the property empty, you can come and check it. But I fixed everything. $14,000 for one shop for 400, 600, I think is it's really high. Plus, I wanna be the most sweet possible when I talk. It's historic district. I live there. I live 1 block to this property. And Chief Coffin, I'm sure I cannot lie. He knows the area. The area is really dangerous. A lot of people don't want to go to fix it, anything. I be there to fix it. It's one area, 14,000 because I have no chance to go to the general magistrate in two opportunity with COVID. I think it's complicated. Plus, code enforcement say the property is $165 for sale. The owner don't want to sell it. Need to sell because need pay that, but they don't want to sell. But the rent in this area is $850. I need 2 years to pay $14,000 because I have no chance to go to the general magistrate and say everything was fixed. One shop, one work for $600. I don't want to say I don't want to pay nothing, but no $14,000 in one area where I try to do the best to maintain the area nice. And really, if you see the property 3 years ago, wow, was terrible. I paint, I do landscaping, I maintain the area incredible. I live 1 block to the area, to this property, my property look incredible too. In one area, really complicated to sell. The property is empty for 1 year. I had 35 people to try to see the property. But when the people come, the people leave. Because say, no, thank you. I don't want to live there. Why? Because the area is not like beachside. I understand $100 a day is typically the charge for when people don't do the shops. But again, historic district, I try to do the best. If I need to pay $14,000, I have no chance to continue working in the area to be the area more nice. And really, I'm working every day. And again, Coffin can explain because I call every day to 911 for everything. I'm stay in my neighborhood, trying to the area look nice. At the cold calling for, if you see around this area, the properties is completely destroyed. And I know you are working hard to do this area better. You started the demolition for a few properties in the area, 2 blocks, 3 blocks, and you put the papers for code enforcement for a lot of property. I'm happy to that. I'm doing my job, and my job is maintain the properties of my friends and investors nice. I have only no chance to go to the General Magistrate and say, look, it's that. I'm sure if I go to the General Magistrate and say, give me 2 weeks when the people leave, I can fix it, the General Magistrate will be say yes. I have no chance to do that. $14,000 for that, I think it's no in the balance. Just is this, I try to help to pay anything, but again, it's $850 the rent.
Okay.
It's complicated. Just, that's it. Thank
All
you.
right.
Sorry if I don't explain me good.
You did well. If you'll hang out here, we'll have a discussion. If we have questions or comments for you, we'll call you back up. Thank you. All right. To the commission, questions, comments. I would call out that this is a request for a reduction. So I'd ask for clarity when you make the motion. Just make sure there's clarity in that motion so we understand what a yes vote means, what a no vote means, or if there's a proposed reduction that's not as presented, specify that amount, if you would, for whoever the motion maker is. With that, I'll open it up to questions or comments of the commission.
Gentlemen, just let me share with you, it's difficult to become I'll call it a quasi-judicial judge and make a ruling after our special magistrate has made a ruling.
This one is going to be, it's a policy decision. It's not going to be quasi-judicial. There's no entitlement to a reduction. It's a request, so not quasi-judicial.
So then I called that by the wrong nomenclature. It's
Correct.
still
You're not applying criteria. This is completely within your discretion.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. Yet it's still difficult. It's a lot of money, I understand. But again, we have hired a judge to make these determinations. I know we have extenuating circumstances like COVID, but I still see a possibility for you to profit on this house, even with the $14,000 fine.
Okay. Any other comments? Carrie, just for clarity, we need to take some action. We can't just not do anything, right? We need to
Correct.
take a motion and vote.
You do have an application in front of you.
Okay.
They're entitled to a decision on that.
If no one else is going to say, I 2020 was an interesting year. We have taken as a commission, as a city, we've taken a pretty hard line stance. We've stood behind our staff on these kind of things. And as I look at the pictures, some of this, the one thing he said that resonated, that I guess is a question maybe for Barbara, is, I do know if someone is in the home and they don't grant they don't have to let you back in the home. So were there conditions where the property owner may not have been able to gain access to fix what we had said? What are your thoughts on that?
That I'm not sure. The tenant did say that at one point they wanted to let someone in there, but because it was a weekend, the tenant did not want someone there, but he said that they could come back during the week to conduct the work. That's the only conversation that I had where they did not allow anyone at the home to do the work. A lot of the work that could have been done on the outside of the property was not done until after we conducted our second inspection, and that's why they were not found into compliance until a later date.
Yeah.
Because even the outside of the property was not, they had not started repairing the outside of the property.
Okay. Was it constant, was there communication? Were they, did they notify us that they were possibly out of the country? Or did we?
We had no communication
No
with the
communication.
property owner
Okay. Or a representative?
or a representative, correct?
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a quick question
Sure.
of Barb?
Barbara.
Barb, please, are we allowed, is your department allowed to go inside a home under any circumstances? Because in this case, we did, and I thought I understood that we're not allowed in the home or in the backyard. Is that correct?
We're only allowed in a home or in the backyard if we're invited on by a property owner or a tenant. As long as we have permission to go onto the property by a tenant or the property owner, we are allowed on the property. Other than that, we have to do street sidewalks, and we can walk up to the front doors because most front doors do have sidewalks that lead to the doors, and we can go on sidewalk and driveways.
Thank you.
So Barb, on the 28th, you did your, January 28, 2021, you did your initial inspection and then followed up on the 29th the next day?
January 21st, we did our first inspection.
Okay.
And then they had some outside issues and some things that needed to be addressed.
Okay.
And went back on the 29th.
Barb, was there any request by the property owner to come out and do an inspection or complaint by the, no, I'm sorry, not the property owner, the person renting?
That we did not get a call to do any inspections until January 21st, 2021, to my knowledge.
When you say got a call
The
from-
property owner or representative called and requested a code enforcement inspection.
Okay, but it wasn't, the tenant did not instigate code enforcement coming out?
Yeah.
Initially, yes, the tenant did instigate us coming out. He called us and requested that we come in because there were some issues on the inside of the house as well as the outside of the house.
Okay, do we know if the tenant was paying rent? Did the tenant stop paying rent at any time?
That I do not know. We
Okay.
usually do not get involved in that. He just stated that he wanted us to do an inspection, and he did state that he would be moving out. He did not indicate that he was being, that he had to move out. He just stated that he would be moving out.
Is the tenant moved out now? Do we know?
To my knowledge, they have moved.
Okay. Quick question for the applicant, if.
Sure.
Is the tenant currently there, or has the
No,
tenant
the property
moved
is
out?
empty, like, I think in February they leave. When we start the process for the eviction, because they don't pay for 6 months, my attorney called and say, because they say you cannot move in because the pandemic, the government say, I cannot do the eviction for no pay.
Right. So
And-
the tenant
and-
was, so.
Yes.
How many months did the tenant not pay?
6 months.
Okay, was it consecutively going back from the time they left consecutively?
They was paying perfect for 2 years. After 2 years, they told me they want to move to because they find another property to buy, because they buy one property close here, and they told me the next month or in 2 months we leave. I say, well, perfect. After that, they don't move. They call inform me because I called to attorney to start the eviction process. Typically, I'm in this business for 5 years. Always when you start the eviction process, the tenant call inform me for anything. Really,
Right.
I was trying to do the best, but when I try to do the fix or everything, they say, no, no, you cannot come the weekends. When I call the people to fix it, the people say, no, in the weekend.
Yeah, okay, I got it. You answered my questions, thank you.
Thank you, sorry.
Thank you.
And like to just
Sure.
add something too. Just so everyone's aware, there's more than one unit there. There's a front unit, and there's also a separate unit at the back. So there's 2 separate units located on the property. The second unit we did not get into.
Okay. All right. What is the commission's pleasure? So we can make a motion to approve the amnesty request, which would waive it completely. We can make a motion to approve some other reduction, or we can make a motion to approve the amnesty request, but if you vote against it, then you would be essentially not approving the amnesty request. So those are the options before us. Yes, go ahead.
$14,000 is a lot of money for not maintaining the outside of a property. However, the rules are the rules. And a lot of time elapsed when some outside work could have been done to straighten the property out, especially when you live so close, because I know where you live and I've seen the property. I can't see giving a waiver to the lien. I would be comfortable making a reduction in the lien, or to waive a portion of it, but that portion of it would be relatively small.
The floor is open for a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we grant a lien request in the amount of $4,000, and that $10,000 remains outstanding, and that a question for Carrie. Can we put a time frame on when that would have to be paid?
Yes.
I would grant that, I make a motion to reduce the outstanding lien to $10,000, under the condition that the $10,000 be paid within 14 days.
Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, just for clarity. So we have a motion to grant a lien reduction of $4,000 that will leave a net due of $10,000, and with the condition that that is payable 14 days from tomorrow, 14 business days, we assume, from business days?
14 calendar days.
14 calendar days. 14 calendar days from tomorrow. So a vote in the affirmative, when we call the roll on this, a yes vote is reducing it. A no vote would be not reducing it. And if you're on the majority, you can then make another motion if you chose, or we can move on. With that, if there's no other discussion, City Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Hartman?
No.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Sorry, no.
Commissioner Coloni?
Yes.
And Mayor Owen?
Every time.
The big guy.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
And so the applicant's clear, if it's not paid within 14 days, it goes back to the full amount.
Okay. So a reduction of $4,000. So Kelly will give you contact info. We'll talk to, I'll talk to you afterwards. We'll try to give you some clarity if you need it, and we'll go
I do
from
have
there.
your email. I have your contact information.
All right, lien amnesty request was adopted as presented. Thank you all for being here. Item 8A, ordinance 19-21 is a public hearing and first reading of an ordinance with modified list of permanent uses in the I-2 heavy industrial zoning. City Attorney will read this ordinance a first time by title only.
Ordinance number 1921, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulations, amending Article 5 zoning districts, Section 50402, specific regulations by district, I-2 heavy industrial zoning district, to permit temporary housing facilities on government-owned and/or operated facilities, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. And for clarity, because this is a change to the use table, it's a first reading public hearing, and we will be taking a vote on this. There's also a companion item to this, but it is not a public hearing, and we will get to that under, it's item 9A. And I think Brian has a brief report for you.
Question, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Carrie, we vote on this twice?
Yes.
2 public hearings. This is a legislative decision.
Thank you.
Right.
Just a brief report. As was presented initially at the April 13th commission meeting, staff is preparing a program to provide temporary transitional housing facilities for individuals and families in New Smyrna Beach that have been displaced from their homes and are in need of shelter. This program, if approved, would be located on property zoned I-2, and it would use temporary mobile home type housing units for residents. The current list of permitted uses in the I-2 zoning district allows facilities owned and or operated by governments, which is very broad. However, it's not entirely clear if a government facility consisting of mobile home units for temporary housing would be permitted. So really, in an abundance of caution, this text amendment provides that this added clarification with the addition of temporary housing facilities to be part of that permitted use. At the April 5 Planning and Zoning Board meeting, the board voted 5-1 to recommend approval. The board sought to have some more information about this program and suggested adding a definition of temporary housing facilities. That additional information, which was presented to the commission, was presented to the Planning and Zoning Board at their May 3rd meeting, where we also provided a definition of temporary housing facilities. As Carrie mentioned, that definition is in a separate text amendment ordinance that is scheduled for first reading tonight under item 9A. That definition was recommended by the Planning and Zoning Board by a 7-0 vote. For this item, staff recommends the City Commission approve the first reading of the requested text amendment.
Okay.
Mayor, if I may just to make one correction, this is temporary housing for couples, not family. So just want to make sure that is clear. So there is no family, there's no kids. It's only couples for transitioning homes.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so any members of the public wish to speak on this item? Yes, sir.
Again, my name's Dennis Texter, 315 Roslyn. So from what I understand from you, Mr. Brian Fields, is the zoning commission is saying 7-0, yes, temporary housing will be travel trailers, trailer homes. What exactly will be temporary housing? Did we get that yet, or is that coming up in 9A?
So just real quick, so you just direct your comments to the commission,
Oh, okay.
questions to the commission. This is your time, so you can take us,
Okay.
that, and then we'll go back and follow up on that.
Gotcha. So, I've never done this before.
Yeah, no, I know. That's fine.
So I want to know exactly what temporary housing is.
Okay.
And then if it's temporary housing, that means it could be moved at some certain time or juncture. And if the city or the city commission or any of the entities underneath the city have landed somewhere else, like 800 acres out by Walmart, maybe that would be a perfect place to take these transitional housing units, houses, trailer homes, whatever we're going to call them, and move them out there. And then that way it'll be more subject to Walmart and other things that they might need, instead of putting a family that we're all trying to help get back into the community and put them in an industrial area. So again, I'm just trying to make sense of putting homes or people, couples, families, whatever, with or without kids, in industrial area. It does not make sense. Across from a school bus garage, next door to the school bus stop that probably 15, 20 kids go to every morning at 6:15, 6:30 in the morning. So I just don't think that's a great place, because it's not at the transfer station, I was told by the mayor. And I still don't think it's a great place. So again, if this property is not that valuable to have industrial entities on it, then maybe the city should sell it and put it back on the tax rolls and find another place to go with this temporary housing. It's not a good idea. Again, if there's another place, great, but I don't think setting a precedent and changing all these areas to put things in, whether it be zoned for industrial, light industrial, heavy industrial is the answer. I'm totally against it. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any others for public participation on this item? Yes, sir.
Roy Matson from Lawrence Street. I already told y'all about putting it there by the police station and everything else. Would there be a problem of reconsidering or relocating it? Would they be considered to put it out by Walmart? Because we got all that vacant land between Venetian Bay and Walmart. You would have Greyhound bus service, you have food, you have the county buses coming and going. You also have the fire service right there. Plus, you got a 24-hour gas station. So there's no reason why they wouldn't be able to get the assistance that they needed if something did provide, like they need food or they need anything. It's all right there. If they need a bus to get somewhere, it's right there. And it would not interfere with everybody in the city, period. And it would be, I believe, a good, viable resource area to do it, because the bad part behind all of this, it's just like the county told me out of the first step. Nobody has to be accept the services that are offered to them. So that means if you want to offer them a home to stay, they can say, nope, I'm comfortable where I'm at, and there ain't nothing worth proving but wasting our time and money. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others, public hearing on this item? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. And do we have any discussion by the commission on this item, or do I have a motion? Yes, sir.
At this time, with a lot of concerns that I expressed last time, I can't support this in this location right now. I have a lot of concerns about it. There's the homeless people are going to be, well, first of all, let me state that my time on the commission, we have gone back in history to look at what the intent was. We did that on hotels, we did that on CCSL line, we've done it on a lot of things. One of my concerns is that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, when you go back and read this report, someone who doesn't, none of us would be up here. You go back and you interpret it. To me, the report does not hit the heart of the issue and the problem. It does not clearly explain what the intent is for. We have a lot of talk about families, now couples. I get it. We're talking about transitional housing for homeless people. I mentioned at the last meeting that we discussed this. I feel like the discussion has pivoted. I'm uncomfortable with that. I want it to be very clear and decisive of what it is and why we're doing it. I also disagree with the location. There's nowhere for them to go to get anything. We're going to have Dollar General and 7-Eleven overwhelmed. It's the only place they can go to get it, and they got to go through residential neighborhoods to get there. So I'm just not comfortable with this right now at this time for a lot of reasons. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. So I think we all said at the workshop when we first kind of started talking of this, and when it came back, to start going through these iterations, the issue isn't should we try to do something, because we heard from many times members of the residents, members of the community would stand and tell us the stories of the things they captured on their security cameras of people in their pools and sleeping on the couches and everything else. And we talked to Chief about, you know, hands are tied. There's only so much we can do because of different things and because we don't have a shelter. So, you know, we've had this debate, so I don't want to rehash that whole thing. As this came forward, Calvin and I, we had a very candid discussion. And, you know, the notion is location, location, location. Like, it all comes down to where is the right location and you know, how do we find that? The other variable we still haven't had yet, and admittedly, you got to check certain boxes to be able to continue the process, is, you know, kind of that full cost analysis. And so this isn't a done deal. We're saying, look, let's put the motions in place. That being said, I do wonder if, you know, are there other locations? You know, I had someone call me and talk about the proximity to the sports complex, which, you know, frankly, in looking at this before, I hadn't really thought about. I had looked at the proximity to the skate park, which I offset as being, you know, yeah, but it's across the street from the police station, so that's kind of a net neutral. But, you know, we're almost in the backyard of the sports complex there, which, you know, is obviously a you know, heavy youth presence. So I don't know that we're going to find the perfect location. So I don't want to stall the whole thing, but I do have concerns on the location. But I don't have a better location either. Like, so, and not doing anything or doing nothing, said better. Doing nothing is also not going to help some of the other issues we had residents asking us to solve. So, yeah.
Yeah. So specifically, I disagree that this is solving the issues that the people have, and that's where we pivoted in the language in our discussion.
Okay.
We start talking about other cities contributing, which means what is the future of this project if it goes forward? I have deep concerns with it. Port Orange may be a contributor as part of us determining how financially feasible this project is. You know, I deal with on a constant basis the degenerates out there with drug and mental illness issues that will not be going to transitional housing. They have no interest in it. I deal with them literally every day, as in has some people around the downtown area. So my concern is that while we headed in a direction, we've pivoted. And then I look long-term and say, do I want the possibility of a long-term homeless shelter being at this location? Absolutely not. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, oh, go ahead, Mike, sorry.
Go ahead, Commissioner, go ahead.
Just to kind of lay out all the steps in this proposed project. What we're doing now is we're changing zoning to allow the construction of such a facility there. We're not approving the facility. We're just making it possible for it to happen. To our attorney, what other steps would be necessary before we actually went into a program and that led to construction?
Well, Colin and I have talked about, you know, there's a lot of questions that still remain unanswered about how would it be operated, how would it be funded. If it's similar to First Step Shelter, that we would have to establish a 501c3 and figure out how to get money for it. You know, that's the logistics side. In terms of operational, I'm not sure if you want to narrow the focus of your question or.
Would site plan approval be necessary?
Brian?
Yes.
Yes.
So there would be another review process that would be by the planning board and then eventually come back to us, would it? That was a question.
Depends on the size and scale. The commission can make that a requirement of the project.
Yeah, I would certainly want that if it got that far down the road. We do have to do something. This may not be the perfect place for it. Might not even be a good place for it. But as you can see, there are a lot of steps we still have to follow. There's procedures, there's the full extent of what we want to do. I certainly don't want to involve other towns in it. I'm in favor of changing the zoning to have the possibility it could be there. So, no guarantee I'll approve it farther down the road. I would like to see this type of facility, but I think we have a ways to go before we actually get there.
Okay. Vice Mayor, you got a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I think we're all passionate about this subject. At first blush, I was very thankful to staff for even finding this parcel. But then I had my own reservations about their transportation from that site to work, to school, to buy food. It seems to be in a food desert as well. And I believe the closest VOTRAN stop for bus pickup is on Dixie, correct? Right, so, I mean, yeah, again, at first blush, it looks great. And then I listened to a couple of our constituents with very valid points. And yes, it does have a possibility of being good. And then I had another discussion with a fine gentleman who was very familiar with these type of assistance programs, how complex they are, how unwieldy and expensive they are, and how much people fight over them for power. So are we putting the cart before the horse? Maybe not. But again, I appreciate you found at least this plot. But, you know, again, what are we going shouldn't we decide what we can put at this plot to help the public, or is it just going to be housing? Will we have psychological, medical staff on site, other assistance for veterans, you know, and can we afford it? And will we have partners? So that's all playing into the value of this site and other I-2 sites.
Okay.
It's really troublesome.
All right.
So having read the definition in 9, and I know that's not up for discussion at this time though, but there are a lot of options available. What we're doing now is we're changing the language to allow options. We haven't had a permanent plan. We're not sure if it's even going to be feasible, but this will allow us to use the I-2 for temporary housing, whether it be FEMA trailers during a disaster, you know, or something like that. We don't currently have that specific language. So all this does is it just clears the language and clears a way for us at some point in time, so we decide we have options with this I-2 properties. I've been here a long time. I don't see anybody knocking on the door to buy that piece of property just yet. It's owned by the airport. I mean, we have to lease it from them. So, but it does allow us in the future, should the need arise, we will at least be legally allowed to use that piece of property for one of the definitions in number 9. So I support the change in the language and think we should move forward and, you know, see where it comes out.
No, just a couple of things. If you recall back on the beginning discussing this project, I mentioned 3 challenges. Location was one of them. And we looked at several locations. I don't think there's a location anywhere in New Smyrna that is going to be a perfect location. But in terms of the criteria that we were looking for, this spot, one of the spots that kind of actually met some of the criteria most than any other sites. Some of the residents, they have mentioned about the debris removal sites. That is not the location where we do the debris removal. The debris removal is actually down to the farther to the south. We're only using at this point 2 or 3 acres. Answering some of Commissioner Sachs or Vice Mayor Sachs' concerns about whether we provide the wellness and also the mental health. Advent Health and Stuart Marchman will be involved. It's a it's a transitional homes. It's not like, it's not a permanent homes. So, looking at sites, I know when we talked to at the one in DeLand, they said that location is important for the facility. If you put it out there far away, it's not gonna function, they're not gonna go to it. So that's one of the challenges that when we looked, we don't own the 800 acres on 44. That's owned by the Utilities Commission, and they already have a plan for it. But if the commission interested to look out further west and buying a property, I mean, we'll look at that. But that wasn't an option at the time that when we started looking at locations that it's available.
Okay. All right, I don't want to completely relitigate this. We've talked about it at length. Everyone's made their thoughts fairly clear. You know, it's not an easy thing. Wish the youth council were here to vote.
Give him a tough one.
Yeah, right. So, you know, I do feel like, I guess I concur with Commissioner McGurk maybe in that, and I should have brought this up earlier, so mea culpa, my fault. But it does feel like if we're going to go down all of this with and I know this isn't the start of it, it's been through P&Z, et cetera, it just somehow didn't click with me, but if we're going to go through all this, I feel like why go through all this if we're not 100% sure that all this other stuff is going to work? Meaning, are we going to partner with the other cities? What does the funding look like? What is it going to cost? You know, I know we've seen the conceptual high-level plan, which I supported. We said at that time the location is the big question, but it feels like maybe we're a little bit ahead on that. So I support the concept in general. I do have concerns on this location. The more I've thought about it, I don't know that you're going to find a location that doesn't have, that's not close enough to someone's backyard to have them come stand in front of us. That's the issue, fundamentally. But can we put enough other plans in place and make sure we can, accentuate all the positives that are going to come from it enough to be able to say it's offset? And I think the position I'm in, at least, is, and maybe this is what Commissioner McGurk was saying also, probably better than I am, is right now I don't have all of that to go with this. Like, I can't say here's the exact plan and here's how it's going to solve these problems. Like, I think I know, like, we've talked about it enough. But so I guess that's the concern. So I'm also kind of pausing on this. We don't lose the work. We can always bring this back, because if it doesn't go through, we can always bring it back. All right, with that, I'd ask for a motion on item, sorry, go ahead.
Just one, if you recall, I mentioned that at the second meeting in June, that I will prepare a full cost estimate on the construction and the operating cost. So that's coming to you, and as a matter of fact, I'm working on it now with the company that they own the trailers, to come up with the cost for each size and each type that we have. So second meeting in June, hopefully we'll have a more detailed for you that you could make a decision on.
And those costs would be pretty much applicable on any location.
Yes.
So that also isn't lost work.
I mean, it's going to depend a little bit on the utilities available.
Marginally, yes.
But overall, the construction costs of the site itself, it should be the same.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, please, quickly.
Sure.
The other municipalities, are we still looking for financial assistance from Oak Hill, Edgewater, Port Orange?
Yes, they are. The only thing is they would like to see the overall cost and what is their share before they make a decision on. So that's and I promised them that the second meeting in June, I'll have that cost to share with them.
And just for anecdotally, First Step is not perfect, but they're tried. Daytona, I believe, owns it. They are assisted by the county. I understand DeLand has a good program. I think we should stop talking and start working. If this plan doesn't work out and we don't get past the drawing board, we'll go somewhere else. But maybe it is best to try.
All right.
On industrial.
I agree. Let's stop talking and take a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance 19-21.
All right, I had a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, City Clerk, if you'd call the roll.
Vice Mayor Stats?
Yes.
Commissioner Floody?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
No.
Mayor Owen?
No. All right, the second reading and public hearing will be conducted on May 25th, 2021. For the public's benefit, this was a first reading. There will be a second reading, and then all that does is approving the land changes, assuming that would go through. And as you heard tonight, there's 5,000 other steps after that, including budgetary things. So item 8B, ordinance 22-21 is related to amending sections 201 and 703 of the LDR. City Attorney, if you'll read that ordinance a second time.
Ordinance number 2221, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulations, amending Article 2 definitions, Section 201 general definitions to revise the definition of waterfront setback, amending Article 7 standards for sites with special characteristics, Section 70301 construction standards, and 70302 development east of the city coastal construction setback line, to provide for a single coastal construction setback line, exemptions, and a variance process, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay. Before I turn it to Brian, so we've discussed this particular item in a workshop. We discussed it at a first reading. I think we had some discussion. I think there was another time at the City Commission we discussed it. I know we each also, if you all got the same emails I did, received some emails from other members of our community. So Brian asked you to give a report that maybe just highlights and focuses on some of those concerns, not necessarily re-litigating the entire thing, because I think we're all pretty up to speed. But if you maybe address some of that, and then we'll see what comes up in the public hearing as well.
Will do. So just, there's a lot in the staff report, but just getting to what the actual changes are. There's really two primary items in this ordinance. The first is to adopt the DEP line as the city's CCSL line, creating one line instead of two. So if you look at our map, Kelly's got up here, the city line is the blue line, and the red line is the DEP line. In this area, the blue line would go away, and we would recognize only the DEP line. The second part of this text amendment, it modifies what is allowed east of the line, both in terms of the rules for development as well as the procedures for approval. I'll get back to that in just a minute. So we'll have one line. The city will have its rules for what you can do east of that line. The DEP will also have their own rules, what they can do east of the line. Those will remain. There's still two different permitting agencies who would be involved here. As far as the impacts, there are a total of 256 properties that are affected by the CCSL line. By adopting the DEP line, the new line will be more restrictive for about 176 of those properties. For 76 of those, it'll be less restrictive, and there's about 4, it's essentially about the same. So in addition, when we adopt the DEP line as the city's line, property owners would no longer have the ability to request moving the line by text amendment, which has been done before at the City Commission. So the line would only move if DEP moved the line. So we would recognize if DEP moved it, our line would move right along with it. So with these additional restrictions, the second part of the amendment modifies the regulations. The goal is to maintain dune protections, but also to bring in some flexibility for certain types of improvements that have no impact to the dune system. So to make the code clear, we provided one section that lists all of the exemptions for structures seaward of the CCSL. And just to review, dune walkovers are allowed, no changes there to the criteria. Seawalls, no changes. Fences, no changes. Public facilities, no changes. Dune enhancement projects, no changes. What is new is that principal and accessory structures would be allowed landward of the easternmost facade of an existing principal structure. I'm going to show a little sketch of what that means here in just a minute. Also, those principal and accessory structures can be no higher than the existing principal structure, and they must meet all LDR requirements. Kelly, if you could please go to page 2. So I've got 3 very simple sketches just illustrating what this is. So here's a lot. There's Oceanside. There's a street. Say you have an existing home. In this situation, you've got the current city line goes right through the home, and for these properties, this is where the line is moving closer to the ocean. The 76 properties have this situation, mainly along North Atlantic from about Sapphire to Cortez is the area where you have this condition. And here, currently you can do nothing east of the city line essentially, and these homeowners would get a lot more flexibility in what they could do up to the new CCSL line. So these folks benefit from moving that line. If you go to the next slide, please. This is the situation for some variation of this for 176 properties where the line moves closer to the street side. And there's various configurations, but this is very common here. So you have an existing home, the line is moving back, and so, what can that home do? Right now, that home can do nothing east of the line. So they couldn't do anything in this area here that I'm highlighting. An addition, a pool, a deck, a patio. They can't even put a paver walkway on the back side of their garage right now. It's not allowed. So what these rules would allow is, yes, this line is moving back to the red line, but we're establishing the easternmost facade is essentially the limits of where work can be done. So on this house, even though the line is moving back, they could construct a pool, a deck, a patio, or even an addition as long as they went no further east than this easternmost line. So yes, the line is moving back, but we're building in some flexibility to make improvements, and the overall theme tonight is no further east than what's the existing development. If we go to the third case, and this is area North Atlantic from Crawford to Sapphire, has a unique situation where both lines are at or on the west side of the street. So here there's really no impact to the change, but those new rules will allow those same improvements that I just went over. Is right now this homeowner, they can't do a driveway apron in front of their property going to the street. That's not permitted today. This is probably where we get the most complaints, is people don't understand why. It has nothing to do with the dune system. They're on the landward side of their home, and they can't make hardscape improvements. So they would be allowed, again, no further east than this easternmost facade. So a couple other things. Construction of structures that met the criteria would require only a building permit. Those would not come back to the commission where someone would have to pay the $2,500 application fee and have a public hearing to build things that were in our LDR. Rebuilds, you can rebuild. That criteria didn't change much, but again, no further east than the original principal or accessory structure. There is one minor revision to this ordinance in the rebuild section. This is based on some input from some residents. It clarifies that the replacement structure can be no further east of the CCSL than the damaged structure at the time the damage was done. So we had the wording that was in there. I think some folks thought that insurance companies might find it a little bit confusing. We haven't changed the policy. We just adjusted the wording a little bit to clarify that it's at the time the damage was done, you can rebuild your home based on where the CCL was at that time. The ordinance also includes the establishment of a new variance that would go to the Planning and Zoning Board, similar to all other variance requests. There is specific criteria for a CCSL variance that's included in this text amendment. That criteria is a combination of the standard criteria as well as CCSL specific items. There's a couple more items, notes to wrap up here. That variance would be used for any development on vacant property. If you had the situation here, let's say this is a completely vacant lot and the line was, much to the west, they would have to apply. Currently, they have no rights really to develop that property, and that's a concern from a potential taking standpoint. Is where we have a situation where you have a platted lot with no buildable rights on it. The variance process would be used as their path, and they'd have to meet the criteria, but that is what's proposed here in the text amendment. On April 5th, the Planning and Zoning Board voted 6-0 to recommend approval. Staff does recommend approval with those minor changes noted to the rebuild section as discussed. That's my presentation.
Okay, it's a public hearing. I'll open it up for any members of the public who would like to speak on this item. Yes, come ahead. If you just give your name and address for the record once you get there.
Good evening, I'm Mary Ann DeWitt. We own a beachfront property. Did you make any compensation for commercial versus residential in this plan?
It does not.
Well, maybe there should be, because it's not the same,
Okay.
you know?
Meaning a residential structure versus a commercial structure should be treated different in the code? Is that what you're saying?
Aren't they?
Okay. In some cases, yes, in many cases not. but
Sure,
yeah. Okay.
in some cases. So
Yeah.
how can we introduce this or do a study or get statistics, or should
Yeah.
it be treated the same? We have the Best Western there, you know, grandfathered in.
Yeah. Okay.
We have the beach driving. I don't see how that's environmentally friendly, but I didn't come up here to argue beach
Yeah, that's all
driving.
different. You
It's
gotta go to the land
amazing.
for that one.
So,
Yeah.
we
Okay.
do own a beachfront, and it's a house, but it's zoned commercial. So if it got damaged, or I wanted to sell it and they wanted to build a small hotel, how would that go?
Okay. That's something we'll discuss, so I appreciate you bringing that to the
Thank you
commission's
very
attention.
much,
Yes.
everyone, for your
Thank you.
time.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Any others? Yes, sir. If you'd like to go after him, there's plenty of seats up front if you want to get in position. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, thanks so much for everything here. We had an opportunity to have a meeting today with Mr. Fields. It was a great opportunity for us to understand better what the intention was of the commission and to understand better some of the language. Worked very well for us as a board, and I should have started that, Scott Steger, 466 Champagne Circle in Port Orange. But I chair the legislative committee for the Board of Realtors, and we had a great opportunity to meet with the mayor and Mr. Fields, who explained some of the intent behind this, and we talked through some of the language so we could better understand and clarify. Many of you have received emails, some of you in your spam folders, from other realtors. I would just like to say that I appreciate the clarification. We feel much more comfortable with the language, with the intent of the commission, and at this time, we are not standing in opposition to this ordinance.
Okay. Thank you. Did I see you moving, Randy, or no? I don't want to coax you up. I thought I don't want to shut you out either.
Randy Herman, 108 Esther Street. I have a question. With this is approved and we drop the city's line, first question is, does the line that we would move to offer similar protection for our coastline? Are we in any way giving up that? Because there was a lot of debate about that when the hotels were being debated. You know, are we in fact moving backward in that protection? And the second thing, Brian mentioned that if we adopt the new line, there are the Department of Natural Resources has their own criteria. Would they in any way be in conflict with what the city would demand as far as construction or limit? Thank you.
Okay. And I'm going to come back and address all these. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, we're going to close the public hearing. Brian, if you would share just maybe to the last commenter's point, you and I discussed the city's regulations are over and above the state's, meaning we're more restrictive than the DEP line or the natural resource line. So the things that they would allow, we go over top of that and say, here's some other things that even though they do, we don't. And we're fairly unique in that, my understanding is. We didn't necessarily look all the way up and down the coast, but certainly.
That's correct. Ours were and will remain on the stricter side of what's allowed east of this. We call it a setback line. They call it a control line.
Yeah.
Theirs gives a little more flexibility and looks site by site at the impacts to the dune system. Ours is more specific rules.
Yeah. And again, as we had debated numerous other times, to that comment specifically, the issue is we really don't have anything, I can't tell you why our line is where it is, whereas the DEP line is established by scientific studies, which is currently under the process of being reevaluated, may move further west, may move east, we don't know. So I think those are some of the things. And then the one comment about the commercial, I'm curious to hear, what are your
So
thoughts on
there's
that?
nothing in the current CCSL that distinguishes properties between commercial and residential. I think it's based on, buildings impacting the dune system. So nothing was changed in this ordinance for commercial or residential. The commercial properties would be entitled to that same flexibility as a residential use. So basically, same rules carried forward, commercial or residential.
Okay.
Now, there are LDR differences, depending on the uses that would still carry forward.
Right. Okay. All right. With that, items before us, gentlemen. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 22-21?
So moved.
Second.
And that's
Heard.
with the revisions that were on the table, correct?
Yeah, thank you for that. So,
Yes, motion to support with the revisions.
and I heard Vice Mayor second to that. You also accept the revisions? Yes.
Yes.
Record, I'm coming to you.
Comment, that's all.
Yes, comment from Commissioner Clody.
I think in the long run, this is really going to clarify to all those property owners exactly what the rules and regulations are, and they will see that even if they are now a little more eastward of the line, that we've written, the staff has written in, common sense rules as to what can be done in that area. Fully support it.
Okay. All right. We had a motion and a second. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Clody?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
To the one person that spoke on the commercial, so this is approved. This is at the tail end of a process. If there are specific things, concerns, reach out to your zone rep and/or myself. Happy to hear those. If you have ideas of how it could be refined for commercial, we can always take another bite at the apple and layer some things in. But trying to get there right here tonight, just need more time to process that and don't want to stall this. So, all right, item 8C, ordinance 23-21. City Attorney read it a second time by title only.
Ordinance number 2321, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 26, Buildings and Building Regulations, to repeal Article 9, Seawalls and Other Coastal Armoring Structures, Section 26771, Construction, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Mr. Fields.
Very briefly, this repeals Section 26771, which, based on the new regulations, we felt like is duplicative of the text in the land development regulations, therefore unnecessary. City Attorney reviewed and proposed repealing the language and relying upon the new language in the LDR. Staff is in agreement with that and recommends approval of Ordinance 2321.
So just so we're crystal clear, this is repealing language that exists elsewhere. And anytime you have the same language in two places, you are at risk of conflicting yourself, which can put you in a weird spot when someone says, but here it says this and here it says that. So we're cleaning it up. We're not saying we're gonna have no rules around seawalls, et cetera. We're saying we're gonna have those rules in one place, not in two places.
Yes.
Just so we're 1,000% clear. With that, do I have it's a public hearing. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Couldn't tell if they were leaving or coming to comment. Y'all have a great night. All right, do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 23-21?
A question first. Can we have a little discussion?
Go ahead. Sure.
There's just one change, and if Carrie would help me out to follow, so I can follow the procedure, I would like to make an amendment to this proposal. We have one line, construction of seawalls, bulkheads, or other types of coastal armoring structures on public property shall be only approved by the Development Services Director. I have full faith in Brian's work, although I do believe this should be the decision and purview of the City Commission. So he does save me a no vote on a lot of items, and I do not like to be antithesis to my colleagues, but do you want to give them that purview?
And what line is that?
I'm looking at 26771 line, it would be on the third paragraph down under 2.
I think that's the original markup of it. There was some text that was left in. The actual ordinance repeals that entire section. So it's that these items are governed in the LDR. It wouldn't be going to the city commission. That language here is covered in the LDR amendment. If you look in the ordinance itself, it repeals entire section 26771. So seawalls would be covered under the permitting parts of the LDR. Now, the commission wants to bring seawalls back. That's at your discretion.
So my suggestion for clarity is this, if you would, Vice Mayor. We took we're getting rid of this language completely, and it exists over here. So, do what you will, but I think for clarity, we repeal this, we're eliminating this because we have it here. If you have concerns over how this language looks, bring that to staff, bring that back to us and say, I'd like to have this language tweaked specifically to make sure seawalls come to the commission, because I don't know, I'd have to go reference where that's in the LDRs and what it says specifically there, but that's not even related to this item that's really before us here, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense, and I have other concerns. Looking towards the future, seawalls are a very bad consideration for maintaining our sea frontage. There are better alternatives.
Yeah.
So I don't know about how the future will look at seawalls.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm happy to have that debate. I don't think this is the ordinance to do it. Right now we have it in 2 places. Let's get rid of this one, and then if you want to bring language back to the commission and say, gentlemen, I'd like to look at this LDR and these specific sections of the seawall provisions and make changes, I think we'd be happy to hear the evidence and the research on that. And so there's also, I think, some state level stuff that's intruding on our abilities here as well, which is always more on that later in the meeting. But so I hope
I just wanted to
clear.
bring that up. I do support it.
Commissioner Colodi, so were you making a motion, I think?
I did make a motion. I make a motion we approve the ordinance as written.
Okay.
Commissioner Sachs is correct. Seawalls are probably the best alternative, best method of handling that, but this ordinance should be approved as written.
Okay. Second. I have a motion, I have a second. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sachs?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ordinance 2321 is adopted. Ordinance 9A, which is a first reading. City Attorney, read this the first time by title only.
Ordinance number 2421, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulations, amending Article 2 definitions, Section 201, general definitions to add temporary housing facility, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay.
Second reading and public hearing will be May 25th, 2021.
And that one, gentlemen, is a standard first reading that does not require a vote on first reading. It will come back, as you mentioned, on May 25th. Next item, boards and commissions, item 10A. We have Code Enforcement Board. We have resignation of Wade, who served us well. And then we have the reappointment of 2 members. Okay, so what has happened is we have Wade has submitted his resignation. He volunteered for years on this board. We thank him. He's been a great asset to the city. So there's one vacancy to fill his unexpired term. And then we have Rex Huffman and Michael Slayton that both had terms that expired on March 3rd, 2021. Mr. Slayton, so Mr. Huffman is in his second term. He's finished his second term. Mr. Slayton has completed his 7th term. Both members would like to be considered for reappointment. The clerk made a note here on my thing. An issue we have is, I believe we only have one application. So we have potentially 3 vacancies, a resignation and 2 term endings, but we only have one application. So the commission's pleasure, but one recommendation would be make an appointment and then waive the term requirements as we reappoint these other 2 to continue serving. I think COVID has slowed up the applications for this particular board. Also, it's probably not the most fun board to be on, frankly, after what we just went through earlier. So if that's clear to everyone, basically I'm looking for a motion to reappoint Rex Huffman and Michael Slayton to serve 3-year terms set to expire March 3rd, 2024, with the approval to have their term limits waived.
Quick discussion, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
Is it true that under the new charter, we do have limits of 2 or 3 terms on this board? It's unfortunate that we bring it up.
Yeah, it's not under the charter. We've been going through this process of looking at each of these and trying to bring conformity. There are term limits in this one. Carrie, you're wanting to jump in and save me.
So the code enforcement board is governed by state statute. So this is not one of the ones that we're going to touch.
Okay.
So in the state statute, it talks about the membership of each enforcement board shall, whenever possible, include an architect, a business person, an engineer, a general contractor, a subcontractor, and a realtor. And the point of having those different skill sets up there is when they have a property come before you that needs repairs, you have to have people up there who knows what a reasonable time is and how long it takes to repair a roof or to do X, Y, or Z. So that's the reason for those different skill sets that they're requesting. The state statute also governs the terms, so that's where we're at, and that is probably why Mr. Slayton has had so many terms, is he fills a skill set that's, required in the state statute, and if there's no one else applying.
Okay. So, go ahead.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Go for it.
It's going to be confusing, so hang
All
with me.
Everybody listen carefully.
I'm going to make a motion that we appoint Rex Huffman and Robert McManus to the 2 open positions on the Code Enforcement Board, and that we appoint Mr. Slayton to fill the remaining term of Wade and Hood.
Very savvy.
I'll second that.
That was sharp.
I
Good
didn't
catch.
find it confusing.
No, that was pretty sharp because
Yes.
it solves this unexpired. It gives us the 7th term as a shorter term. All right, good call. I can support that. Any other discussion on that item? If not, City Clerk, if you'd call the roll.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clutie?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
I did have some help from Kelly.
Oh, it was Kelly's idea? You were just going to take all the credit, weren't you?
No, we kind of talked about it.
She didn't put it in my script. She left you to have all the glory. So, yeah, she didn't tell me. All right. Tim B, Pension Board appointments comes to the appointment of 2 citizens to serve either a 4-year term on the Fire Pension Board, which would expire November 1st, 2024, or a 2-year term on the Police Pension Board, expiring October 1st, 2022. So basically, the pension board, as a quick reminder, pension board trustees changed, reflect that the commission shall appoint 2 residents of the city who are not participants in the plan or members of the police or fire community, I would imagine, as well. Both boards have 2 vacancies, so we have 2 on the police, 2 on the fire. We only have 2 applications, and they have applied for both boards. So we have Sandy and Brian, and they have each applied for both boards. And is there any legal reasons why that wouldn't work? We may not prefer that, but are there reasons why that wouldn't be allowable?
They can't be on both boards. That would be, they cannot be.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. All right.
Well, I got great news, Mayor.
What's
I
that?
just got confirmation tonight that I have someone to appoint for the Fire Pension Board.
Okay.
They have not submitted an application.
Once they apply,
However,
okay.
I sent the email to Kelly, how to contact the person.
Okay, so Commissioner McGurk says he has someone else that has applied for the fire pension. Obviously, we don't have that yet. That'll be at a future meeting. So, City Clerk recommends appointing one citizen to the Fire Pension Board and to serve the term vacated by Commissioner McGurk, and then one person to the Police Pension Board, but we can do whatever the pleasure of the commissions is. So we have 2 vacancies on each board. We have 2 applicants plus one that's coming in apparently. Yes,
If I may just
Please,
add,
help us
Fire
out.
Pension Board is a 4-year term, just so you know. Police Pension Board is a 2-year term. We cannot change those until it's done by ordinance. So
Okay.
for the time being, you're trying to appoint one person for 4 years to fire, one person to police for 2 years.
Actually, we're trying to appoint 2 to each of them, but
Right,
we don't have
but
enough
tonight.
people to do that for both of them, so.
Well,
All right,
I'll let Mike snag that fire pension board if he wants, and then I'll come up and follow along at the next meeting with mine, and then we'll be good to go. Unless he's not, unless he doesn't want to serve on it, or he wants to serve on it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
May I ask my colleague, Commissioner Hartman, if he would continue to enjoy serving on the Police Pension Board?
I would until such time as we have applicants.
Yes, thank you.
okay. Commissioner Colody.
Well, I hadn't really considered that, but I would continue to serve until somebody else is appointed. I kind of thought that as a commissioner, we were no longer going to be there, but I guess as a resident, we could be.
Correct. We're just trying to make sure we have enough people for the meeting on Thursday until we can get enough applicants to fill all the spots, and then you would no longer have to participate.
Unfortunately, I will be out of town Thursday.
Okay, so
There,
sounds
for-
like he'll take the first one. If somebody makes a motion to appoint one of the 2 citizens to his spot, that'd probably be the first step. And then,
I make a motion to appoint Mr. Frickel to the Fire Pension Board.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's a motion to appoint Brian to the, I'm not going to attempt that last one.
Fire.
Frickle? I don't see an L.
Oh,
Fricky?
Frick, okay,
Fricky,
sorry.
maybe? My apologies, Brian. We're going to go by Brian.
Just go with the L.
We're going to go with Brian, yeah.
Right.
So we have a motion and a second to appoint Brian to the Fire Pension Board for Commissioner Colodi's seat.
Yes.
Okay, which is the 2025 vacancy versus 2024. Commissioner McGurk says
No,
2024. Commissioner Colodi's is 2025.
Yeah.
Okay. So, had a motion and a second. City Clerk, call the roll. Is to appoint Brian to Commissioner Colodi's seat through 2025.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colody?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have any other motions on this item?
Make a motion to appoint Sandy to the Police Pension Board.
Second.
I have 2 vacancies on that. One is for Commissioner Hartman's seat that goes through 2022. Another is for Vice Mayor Sacks' seat that goes through 2023. Which seat specifically?
I think
Mine.
Vice Mayor, I think the point of Vice Mayor's discussion was that you would continue to serve until more applicants come on, so it would be his seat, Commissioner Sacks, Vice Mayor Sacks,
If you
right?
so desire.
Okay. So
So that
that's,
you still show up.
so it's a point. Well played, Vice Mayor. So that was appointing Sandy to the second vacancy, which is Vice Mayor Sacks' seat through October 2023. I had a motion, I had a second. Is that acceptable to the motion maker? Just, I don't want
Her seat would be up in 2022, though.
The Vice Mayor Sacks' seat term length is 2 years. The term date is October 2nd, 2021 through October 1st, 2023. So technically, she's filling the unfilled.
Okay.
Yeah, they're staggered. That's correct. Yours was
Right.
in 2020.
Yeah.
This was
I feel like that may actually end in 2021. I think that seat is going to expire on October 2nd, 2021, because it says here the term date is October 2nd, 2021 through October 1st, 2023.
They fixed the fire pension board, but the police pension board has like a 3-year term, so it's an odd, it doesn't follow the election cycle.
Got it.
So hopefully that, I think that's on the agenda for Thursday's meeting.
Since there's only a meeting left in August, and of course this one this week, I started it with the 2021.
Okay.
So we didn't have to come back up.
All right. So for clarity, that's appointing Sandy to Commissioner Sacks' seat that would be for a term going through October 1st, 2023.
Correct.
Motion maker is
Okay,
nodding
yeah.
approval. I have a second. City Clerk, call the roll.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Cloney?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, does everyone know where they're supposed to be at the next pension board meeting? Who's showing up? Raise your hand. I don't know. Okay, last item on this one, it wasn't on the agenda, but I just wanted to bring it up under boards and commissions. The investment committee, the commission was gracious enough to appoint me to that some time ago, along with a citizen. I'm going to be submitting my resignation from that to the clerk. As many of you know, I've sometime last year, changed careers, and I work in the investment sector. And so just to avoid any appearance or actual conflicts of interest, I'd rather not serve on that committee. So I'll be submitting my resignation and would ask the clerk to add that to a future agenda to accept other nominations. I think it was structured that it would be one person from the commission and one person from the public, I think, combined with some staff. I think there is a lot of opportunity there. COVID kind of derailed the progress we were making. Also transitions in finance directors, and letting her get up to speed and fix some of the audit stuff that we have now fixed. So anyway, just wanted you all to have a heads up on that. You'll see an email, or Kelly will be receiving that email shortly. Next item, Mayor and Commission reports. We'll begin with the Vice Mayor.
I just have a very short one. May 1st was the beginning of turtle season, so please, folks, watch your flashlights out there. Don't point lights out onto the beach. Don't harass the turtles. I doubt that you will, but I just wanted to remind everybody, this is one of the big draws in our city, and I hope we can support that beautiful, beautiful ecology and biosphere.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I have.
Commissioner McGurk.
Yes, just one thing to say. May 27th will be the Volusia League of Cities Zoom meeting. We've had some significant drop-offs, so I'd like to encourage everybody to attend by Zoom. I mean, you know, you could just dial in. We're sure you'd be there the whole time. So anyway, give it a go, and the good news is we're looking at July for our July meeting to reestablish a new set of criteria, which is basically, we're probably looking at going back to having dinners. You know, if you're concerned about the virus, get vaccinated. I have been vaccinated. I got my 2 microchips put in my shoulder, and I had no problems, no side effects. So
And now I can track you. So
you
so
can,
good.
you and Bill Gates, right? Anyway, so, look, May 27th, you guys should have gotten an email on it, but nonetheless, I wanted to bring it up, and I look forward to seeing your camera turned off.
Commissioner Hartman.
Tomorrow's the end of Nurses Week, so a big shout out to all of our nurses out there for all the great work that they've done for the last year. We certainly do appreciate them and all that they've done. And thank you for everybody that turned out for the PALS golf tournament. I think it was it looked to be pretty successful to me. We had a wonderful time. Team Hartman beat Team McGurk.
I came in last.
And there was a guy on the second hole that was out there scamming people. I don't know where he came from, but we'll tell you later.
I'll have to hear about that.
So, but thanks everybody that participated in that. I think it was a good benefit. They're looking to do things more in the future, so hopefully it benefits the kids, give them a little bit of something going forward. So I know Officer Washington did a lot of work out there, so I appreciate him and all the PALS board for all that they do for the city.
Okay. Commissioner Colodi.
Yes, I have three things. I would like this commission to schedule a workshop so we can discuss going ahead and cooperating with Habitat for Humanity in promoting their programs. I've met with their director. I've also met with the head of our housing authority. And I also reviewed one of our many reports that we've had prepared that shows where we have some vacant properties. We have 6 or 7 individual lots that right now we do nothing but hopefully maintain. These could be turned into productive properties where an eligible person could become a homeowner. We could become a city that collects taxes on those properties. And it's kind of a win-win all the way around. There's always a problem with affordable housing. We know that. And this is a way we might be able to actively contribute. Take non-productive properties off our tax rolls, put them on our tax rolls, and provide benefits to what would be citizens. So if we could schedule that sometime in the relative near future.
Okay.
Do we need a whole workshop?
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, do we need a whole workshop on it, or?
Well, I think, I've said a couple things. We're basically giving away access, properties that we have that we really don't need, which was the purpose of our study to do that. And, if there's any commissioner that has some real reasons not to go down this road and not to cooperate with the Habitat, the Housing Authority. I don't want the Housing Authority for us to fund it and get them involved with it. Habitat's got a very good program. It's been around for decades. We heard the presentation, how they've helped our surrounding towns. So unless there is any real opposition, if there's not a need for a workshop, I'd just as soon have.
I'm just saying, we can probably come in and do something, we can probably piece this out a little bit, get some information on the lots, and then maybe have an early meeting, but I don't necessarily want to get into a workshop for a couple hours. I think we talked about, what's your idea? Give me an idea of your workshop.
My idea is I look through our list. Workshop is basically so we can set some parameters if we have to. Hopefully our staff will come up with some information on these particular properties. And then
So
move ahead.
at our last workshop, we identified several properties that we were either going to sell or create some parking possibilities out there. So maybe a short workshop to kind of bring that back up and to see where we are with that.
Correct.
Going forward. I would hate to donate a piece of property that may be out there for bid or something like that, so.
Does it have to be a workshop, or, it feels like something we could get in a 10 or 15-minute agenda item, I guess, is what I'm.
That works fine for me also.
Is that kind of where you're going? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'll defer to staff, maybe kick it around, come back to let us know, do you feel like we need hours, or do we need 10 or 15 minutes on our agenda item?
My idea was probably sometime in June, probably before the meeting, like at 6 o'clock. We could present some of the properties that we talked about that maybe come potential for Habitat, and then you could guys discuss.
So like a mini workshop, like we did the budget things, or a
Correct.
CRA type meeting, something like that, or just as an agenda item. I think we could do that.
I don't see it as very controversial amongst us, but I took a quick look at these properties. There might be reasons we need them. Maybe engineering has a reason.
Okay.
But
we'll talk about
that's it.
And
Half
you
hour
have-
would be great.
All right, I think you had commission support,
You
staff will
have
figure out the right
support, but
timing.
you have one opportunity, Mayor, on June 30th, when we present the budgets. If you wanted to do that at that time, that would be okay too.
We could put it at the end of that agenda, and if we have
Yeah.
time and we're still firing on all cylinders, we can do it. If not, we'll find
Because
some
we're
other.
gonna start at 5:30 on the budgets. I mean, that should be like an
Yeah.
overview of the budget, so we'll give you the budget book, but
Okay. I thought I heard you, it's still his time, but did you have a comment on that item, or?
Mike, you have my support.
Okay.
Thank you. Second item, Barracuda Bridge replacement. UC held a workshop in that neighborhood. Approximately 50 residents came out. Very heavy interest in it. It focused two ways. One, they want gas service there, which isn't there right now. And this is an opportunity for that public utility to work with us to save money, putting gas lines in, cutting the costs down for residents if they choose to sign on. I've spoke with Colin about this and the public utilities. They are more than happy to join in with a program on this. That's one of the things that was discussed. Probably the bigger one that was discussed is they want the whole roads paved all the way down to the end. That's something that we'll have to discuss if we want to do that as part of our resurfacing program. I did speak with Kyle on that one. The third is we appropriated money for drainage 2 years ago for small drainage projects. There's a couple streets that go underwater. They were underwater when I came here, just from the rain we had this afternoon. That's going to be looked at by the staff also. It's a beneficial project. The biggest issue that everybody has out there is do the underground, do the utilities, and do everything before the road is milled and paved, which is part of the project. So it's a big coordination item. Our staff is working on it, and I'm very pleased in that, and so are the people in the neighborhood. Last item is when I get the chance to fight the traffic and drive down to the beach. Our favorite corner of Peninsula and Flagler looks much better. Our staff cleaned it up based upon some citizens' complaints. It looks good. I had the thought that as Colin is working on a plan for possible temporary use of it in the meantime, if we could look at using that for parking. We need parking out there, and we could probably do some parking there at almost zero expense.
Yeah.
So I would like, I haven't talked to him about that. I don't think I talked to you about that one, but that's something I would like us to look into. And that's it.
Okay. All right. So I have a couple of things. First, so I want to go back to something just to make sure there's absolute clarity. So we approved in the consent agenda, I forget which item it was, the 4th of July fireworks display. There were 2 options presented, and I just want to make sure the commission caught and there was understanding of you know, how that was approved, since we didn't pull it out and approve specifically, you know, and debate the 2 options. So one was to do it as we had in the past here, and then the staff recommended option 2 was what we talked about last year, which was having it at the airport, spreading it over the sports complex. So my understanding would be that we had approved the staff recommended option as we approved the consent agenda. So I just want to make sure that was clear, that in approving the fireworks display, it was approved to be held at the launch from the airport, and then the attendees would be spread about the sports complex and the surrounding neighborhoods, et cetera. So
I'm glad you brought, I think I totally missed that in the report.
So did I.
Wait a minute.
Completely.
But doing this at the sports complex?
So, yeah, so the agenda item was, there was 2, and if everyone wanted to join me on that agenda item, the cover page. So we've got, there were 2 options presented. One of them was do it as we have always traditional here. No changes. The concern was normal crowds and, you know, social distancing is going to be tough. The second option was what I had brought forward last year when we were trying to push it through, was have it out at the airport, which we had gotten FAA approval to do. launch them from the fireworks from the airport, and then folks would be able to spread out in the football grandstands, on the multi-purpose fields, bring blankets, et cetera, the soccer fields, the parking lots, and then they would bring in food trucks to that complex as well. So staff had recommended option 2, which was that one at the sports complex. So I just wanted to make sure we were clear in what we had approved since there was options presented, that we knew we had approved option 2. Because I got a request from a radio station asking, did we approve the fireworks at the airport?
So I appreciate you bringing that up, because I totally missed that. And I was under the impression that we were simply going back to what we were doing. The idea at the sports complex was for people to be in their cars and be able to watch it. Last year was the discussion. We didn't have that kind of parking over here at the park. But at this point, I mean, I think that we start rethinking our COVID. I think that's an overkill, and I think I have some of the things that would bother me off the top of my head of doing that is, if we're getting out of their cars and people are going to be outside, let's do it the way we've always done it. And the traffic that's going to create on Turnbull Bay Road, South Street, and you're going to get a lot of traffic backed up on there. But I thought it was a great idea for a temporary thing if people stayed in their cars. But I think I would prefer much more to do it the way we've always done it. It's much more spread out. The congestion is still bad, but won't be near as bad as it would be at the sports complex.
So if I may, it sounded like from everyone's initial reaction that there was some confusion. So I think probably we should have a motion to reconsider that item, and then let's talk through and do that. So do I have a motion to reconsider?
Motion to reconsider.
Item 6Q.
6Q.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I think we all approve the consent, so any one of us can do that. So Kelly, if you'd call the roll on that, please.
Sure, I'm sorry, who was the first?
First was Commissioner McGurk, second was Commissioner Colodi.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
No.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
No.
Mayor Owen?
Yes. All right, we're reconsidering the item. You've made your comments clear. Other comments? I thought I heard Commissioner Colodi.
Let me
Sorry,
say
go ahead.
one quick thing, I apologize. Bringing in food trucks, I'm not happy with to begin with. It brings business downtown. So bringing in the food trucks, that's a potential big loss for the economy downtown. And then bringing in people who, may not even live here. And, I'm not a big fan of the whole food trucks when they start affecting local small businesses that have brick and mortar type payments.
So I only see a note on the food trucks on that second option. I don't think we've traditionally had food trucks here when we did it here. So yeah, okay.
I
Good.
thought we had, at the last one we had here, there was a
been
couple
so
of
long.
food trucks or
Well, put it this way, it gives people the option. If you have only, you have it out there and you have food trucks,
That's the only remedy, yeah.
I'm not happy with that.
Commissioner Colodi?
No, I don't know how I managed to, but I missed that on the consent agenda, that we were shifting the location. So that was my fault.
Yeah,
I don't know,
okay.
I don't know why I missed that, but I did.
Okay.
I would prefer to keep it at the original location.
Okay. So, look, it's 9 o'clock. I don't want to, let's just, somebody make a motion. If you're for or against, just vote, but to have a motion on the
Make a
fireworks
motion to
display.
move it back to Riverside Park.
So,
Second.
I have a motion on the fireworks to accept the first recommendation from staff, which is to have it in the same location as possible. I have a second. City Clerk, if you call the roll.
Commissioner Hartman?
no.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Fireworks are down here. I probably should have paused on that staff.
So 1 or 2,
Option 1.
okay.
We're having them here, Brandon Center. Not literally in the Brandon Center, although maybe that would solve the roof
Well, we
issue.
burned down a tiki hut one day. Is there any issues? we need to-
I was there.
Okay, so that doesn't count against my time. That was cleaning
Yeah,
up
we
consent
did.
agenda. All right. Couple of things. I also want to commend Officer Washington. So I didn't make the golf tournament which wouldn't have helped or hurt my team, I assure you, but I did not make the golf tournament. I did make the Madden tournament, though. I didn't win. I didn't win a single game. I will note that I lost to the person who lost to the eventual champion. And I put up a good fight. I scored more points than the guy that played him in the initial champion in the last game. So I feel like if I'd drawn anybody but him, I could have gotten pretty deep in that tournament. So, but I really appreciate the extra efforts. I think it was the right type of event. I want to see us continue to do more of those, but I know that takes work and time, and that was a Saturday, and Officer Washington's family was there, Chief Coffin was there. But I really appreciate those events. I think it was great. Wanted to call attention to, we have an economic development workshop that is joint workshop type thing that is scheduled. Summit, yep. Staff had sent an agenda out, I believe, to each of you all. I encourage you to attend. I don't know exactly what to expect, but look forward to trying to collaborate with our colleagues. Colin and Carrie, I feel like there was something else that I was supposed to bring up, and I cannot remember it, and I can't find my note. Is there something else during briefing that I'd said I was
You
gonna
already
bring up?
did. That was on the investment committee.
Was it, that was it? Okay, I thought that was, okay. Home rule is continuing to be an issue. Colin and I had a meeting. We had a consultant present to us. It's a consultant, more kind of lobbyist, that presented to us on behalf of the Florida League of Cities, or from that perspective of the cities. And she gave numerous stats. There were 3,000 plus something bills that were kind of drafted in Tallahassee this past session. A much smaller number of them made it through. But of those, I think there were 36, colleague, correct me if I'm wrong, 36?
36.
36-ish, don't hold me to that number, but somewhere around there, that directly were, I would call an assault on home rule. There were some variant of overriding our powers. Get ready to be the chief ribbon cutters, because frankly, all the other power is going to be concentrated in Tallahassee at the rate we're going. I will tell you all until you all tell me to be quiet. I spoke up at that meeting. At that meeting, we had a report of all the local funding that our great local delegation had secured for us, some right here in New Smyrna for the Women's Center. And that's great. I appreciate that. That is their job, to lobby for this district and try to bring funding back to their district. Their job is also, in my opinion, to fight for home rule. And so, I hope I don't jeopardize future funding, but I feel that it is also our duty and obligation. We have to continue to fight that fight, and if that means we're at conflict sometimes with our state representatives, I have a difference of opinion. I believe that the government closest to the people is the best. They believe the same when it comes to the federal government.
That's right.
They'll be the first to tell you the federal government should get out of the state business. And I say there's many issues they also should stay out of. The state has a great role to play. There are many things the state should be involved in that we can't do, that are regional type issues or state level issues. So just know that I'm not going to be quiet on that issue unless my commission requests me to. I know that you do run the risk, and this is just being as candid as I can be, you run the risk of, does it mean we don't get funding next year? I don't know, but I think it's the right thing to do, that we continue to fight to maintain home rule, because I got elected to do more than cut ribbons, and the people that elected us sent us here to fix issues, and more we run into, oh, we can't do that because the state just passed something and now we have no control over that. You can't touch it. I mean, now they're telling us how much we can have in our building fund, when and how much we can raise our impact fees. I mean, before long, I'm going to call the state before we can schedule a meeting. So that's all I have on that issue. City manager?
I mean, that also applies at the county level, too.
We've worked better with the county, but sure, we'll go there next meeting. City manager, anything on your report to highlight?
Very quick, we received the notice from FEMA on, as I mentioned to you previously, on the 9 homes to be elevated and the 4 homes within the Central Beach. So that's a good news. Today, Commission approved the $14 million, and we talked to Mark Galvin about the additional funding. So we'll be coming back to you on the 25th with options of how to finance the funding for these 2 projects.
Okay.
As the mayor mentioned, the Economic Development Summit is on Monday, the 17th. It's from 9 to 3 in this building. If you have any questions on the CM report, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Seeing no questions, city clerk report.
Just a comment, I wanted to thank all of you for your support with the Youth Council for the past few years. It's obvious how much it's empowered them in many ways, so